No more leaks, very clean, pressure washed. Clean engine is a happy engine. So here I have a 2013 Ford Escape. This is a 2.0 EcoBoost version, and it's the all-wheel drive version, also SEL. And this vehicle here has about 110,000, 111,000 miles or so. And this car belongs to a friend of mine up in Michigan. And while I was up there, I told him I'll check it out, and I ended up bringing it here to North Carolina on a trailer. The concern is that the transmission is slipping, and this transmission I don't think is like serviceable as far as I know at the moment. But then I got the car in a lift, and I noticed that it's dripping oil heavily, and you can see that the splash shield that goes under the engine is all covered in oil, and it's soaked. So the oil leak is pretty heavy, and it is coming from the engine for sure, because I checked the dipstick and it's pretty low on oil. But I think I just found where it's coming from. And before I get to the transmission issue, which my idea is just to flush it a couple times, because the fluid, I got a sample out and it looks pretty dark. Transmission fluid itself looks dark, and it should look like it's cherry red. So I'm gonna do a couple flushes back to back, and hopefully that'll fix the slipping, because you know it's only got 110,000 miles on it. As far as I know, these cars, you know, get up to 200,000 miles with the original transmission. So hopefully a flush will fix it. But the oil leak is coming, the engine oil leak is coming from the vacuum pump. Let me see if I can show it better. Right there, when I start the car, it just starts pouring oil out of there. So I'm hoping I can just remove the vacuum pump right there. It's held by probably 4 bolts, and replace that gasket. And if not, I'll just replace the whole vacuum pump, because this oil leak is pretty heavy and it's covering the whole engine underneath, and the whole oil pan is covered in oil. So I think I'll take care of that first and do a couple flushes on the transmission. As far as codes, when I scan the car, at the moment it's not showing any codes, but when I scanned it a few weeks ago, I did have a code. I don't remember what the code is, but it was the description was gear number 2 ratio off, or something like that, something to do with the gear ratio, which is weird, but I'm guessing it just triggers that transmission is slipping, so it finally triggered that code. But right now it's not triggering any codes, so I'm gonna say that a good transmission flush will fix the slipping issue. So let's get some work done. So there you have it. That's where the leak is coming from, and it's a pretty heavy leak, so I'm gonna take care of that first and then go from there. So to get to this vacuum pump, it looks like I'll be removing the air box here completely out of the way, including this air intake hose above. The pump is right here, so I'll just start unplugging everything, and let's get this leak fixed. And most likely I'll just do an oil change as well as that transmission flush when I get to that part. So I think all of it's going to be in one video. I'm doing this anyways to help someone out, so I figured why not make a video on it. Maybe it will help somebody in the future. Maybe not, we'll see. So it looks like this guy right here is held by one bolt, and there's a clamp there, and I think I'll just take the whole assembly, the whole airbox assembly out just like that. So okay. Alright, so the airbox is out. There's this hose here that you just pinch on both sides and pull up. There's this connector here. Also, you press it right there and it releases it. This just goes out of the way. Trying to get this hose off right here. It's sort of hard to do with one hand, but I'm gonna have to do this with two hands, but you just pinch it on both sides and pull it up and it comes right out. So this is the whole vacuum pump here. Right here, this is the vacuum pump. Wow, that's really on there. Really hard to get to the bolt back there, but let's see. This bracket. Alright, so here's the vacuum pump out of the vehicle. It looks like it's only held by 3 bolts, so what fourth bolt did I remove? Oh, I just removed that random bolt right there. Okay, that's cool. So it's only held by 3 bolts. I'll put that one back. That one was just holding this fuel line. No problem. But yeah, so it looks like this gasket just hardened over the years and failed, and it was leaking around this area. So the gasket's still pretty soft as far as rubber goes, but it's very flat and flushed with the metal already. So it was just, this gasket just has seen better days. So I'm gonna call the local dealer and see if I can get this gasket, and also I need some more transmission fluid to flush this multiple times. But yeah, it's not hard to get to at all. I mean, it literally took me maybe 10 minutes at the most. Just the airbox was the biggest thing that's in the way. Everything else is just unplugs and moves out of the way, and that's it. And I'll clean this up more with the razor, and just so it's a flat surface when I put the new gasket on, and go from there. I am kind of glad where the oil leak is coming from, because originally when I saw the leak I thought it would be coming from the main seal or something, and I'd have to rip the transmission off. So I'm kind of glad that this is like a minor issue and it's an easy fix. I'm sure the dealer would charge crazy amounts to do this job, but you can literally, if you have basic tools at home, you can do this. Like, all it is probably like, you know, a $5 gasket, and you just 3 bolts, and that's it. I'm sure the pump is still good. We had no codes in this car, it was just a leak and the transmission slip. So let's keep going. So while I'm on hold for almost 10 minutes with the local dealer, I'm gonna go ahead and drain this transmission fluid and see what it looks like. Last time I took a sample it was pretty dark, but it's been a while. Not a while, it's been a couple weeks and the car hasn't been driven since, but let me just drain the whole 8 quarts or whatever, or not 8, half of it. I'll drain half of it from this drain plug, and then I'll see what it looks like. And I think I'm just gonna drain it a couple times and hope for the best. Oh wow, look at that. That looks nothing like transmission fluid. That looks like used, very much used diesel oil. There's no way that that transmission has been serviced or flushed. Wow. So for those that don't know, this fluid is supposed to be like a cherry red color, and it's black. So as you can see, this fluid is very dark in color, and it's supposed to be, well, you can't see, but it's like a cherry red color. So when you take the plug on the bottom, it drains about 4 to 4.5 quarts, I believe. So what I'm gonna do now is I put the plugs back in, and I'm gonna fill it up with 4 quarts. And just the sucky part is I can't start it today because I got the vacuum pump off, and I'm picking up a gasket tomorrow at the local dealer. So I'm not gonna start it today, but I will put the 4 quarts of transmission fluid in there, and just wait till tomorrow to start it, cycle the transmission, and then take it for a drive and see how it does, and then probably try to flush it once or twice more after that. And look at this oil leak though. It just keeps pouring out. It's all soaked into this shield, and it just keeps leaking out. It's been like this for like 30 to 45 minutes. All right, let's put these 4 quarts in and keep going. Next day here working on this Escape, and I stopped by the local dealer and they did have a gasket in stock. Here's the part number for the gasket. This is the air vacuum or vacuum pump gasket. So it's about a $6 part that can save you a lot of money. If you fix it yourself especially, you can save a bunch. Also got an air filter. I don't know when the last time it was changed. Some motor oil, oil filter, and 10 quarts of transmission fluid. I have some left. I already filled it up with some fresh fluid, but I'm gonna do a couple flushes back to back just to make sure that I get all the dirty fluid out, and then take it on a good drive and see how it does. Hopefully it fixes the slipping. If it does, that's awesome. If not, I might be changing the transmission. So let's get to work. So that's the old gasket. It's sort of hard already, like especially this smaller piece. It's like almost like plastic, and that's where it was leaking at that small O-ring. So the new gasket is there. There's the part number. Just gonna slap it on. And you can see, I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but this one is like all soft and rubbery. Just reinstall it. And see, this one actually sticks out way past the metal. That one was like flushed, so this will seal it really nice. Alright, so now I just have to line up the inside of this vacuum pump. It won't go any other way unless you line up the teeth. So you just kind of have to put it in and just wiggle it. And I think that's it right there. And then just reinstall the 3 bolts, not 4 like I removed earlier, just the 3. And that's it. Torque it down. I'm not sure what the torque is just yet, but I'll check on it. And most likely just eyeball it. I mean, it just, with these kind of parts, you just have to feel it, because a lot of times you'll torque it, and even with the right torque, it'll break the bolt off because it's an older car and I'm reusing the same bolts, you know, they're stretched. So just feel it. I mean, it doesn't have to be super tight because it is a rubber seal, so you just have to feel it. And now we just basically reconnect everything. Got the 3 bolts on the pump tightened. Everything else just clips back in. So this goes here on this hose. This connector plugs back in, some kind of purge valve. And this goes right back on that same bracket. So since the oil level in the engine is very low, I'm gonna go ahead and change it. Look at all of this oil that's been leaking for a while. Everything's covered in oil. I'm gonna have to wash all of this with some degreaser, Purple Power, and get it all looking clean and OEM. That oil is actually pretty dark as well. I'm sure it was time for a change. Oh yeah, it's dark. But it's all good. We got a fresh filter and fresh oil. This thing's gonna be brand new when it's done, and it might be for sale. It might be. We'll see how it goes. Oh man, that's the wrong size. So it's 15 millimeter, if anybody's wondering. It's funny how I start working with gloves on, and then the first pair rips, and I'm like, I don't need gloves. I just get oil all over my hands. Yeah, so normally you'd want to drain this when the engine's warm and stuff, but this is an exception here. And it'll be alright. So just clean your plug up and have it ready to reinstall once it's completely drained. I do have the oil cap off up there for air intake, and the dipstick pulled out, so it's got proper airflow. Man, I can't wait to like spray some degreaser on this and pressure wash it. Just check this out. Look what happened overnight. That splash shield is like a sponge, and it absorbed a bunch of oil over time, and it just keeps leaking oil. I'm gonna have to soak that in some degreaser and pressure wash that, but I think it'll come out. Most of it's out here, and this is before I put the cardboard down. There was already a spot on the floor. That's why the cardboard's there, and that's what happened overnight. So when the filter screws in upright like this, I usually fill it up with oil, and of course put some oil on the rubber gasket for lubricant and stuff. So sometimes the oil filter will sit like sideways, and that's just not, you can't pull oil in and screw it on without spilling it, so I wouldn't do it there. But this one's like exactly upright, so that's pretty good. And just hand tighten it as hard as you can, so the next guy has a hard time getting it off. I'm kidding, just so it doesn't fall off when you're driving. That should do it. Alright, it's still dripping a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and put the plug in. I think it'll be alright. Sort of on the time crunch here. I gotta leave town again, so I'm trying to get this done before I take off. There we go. Alright, so let's put some fresh oil in the engine and start this thing up. I'm not exactly sure how much oil this engine takes, but I'm gonna put 4 quarts in and just check the dipstick and do it that way. I am using Motorcraft 5W30 synthetic blend. I think that's what this engine requires, so I stick to it. So I put 5.5 quarts in here, and it's almost at the top of the level mark, so I think that's perfect. Only about 5 quarts, but I had some oil sitting around the exact same kind, so that was perfect. 5.5 quarts to fill a 2.0 EcoBoost engine. So I am keeping track of the samples of the oil that I'll be draining, or the transmission fluid, and this is the first time I drained it. It looks very dark. As you can see, it looks like diesel oil that's been running for like 20,000 miles. And then I'll take a sample 2 and 3 and see how well the 3 looks. If 3 looks decent, then I'll just stop there. If not, I'll keep going. I can flush it, I think, 2 more times with the fluid that I have here. So right now I have everything connected and ready to start. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm not even gonna the first time I'm not gonna drive it. I'm just gonna idle it on the lift and switch gears and stuff like that. Let the oil circulate through the transmission, and then drain it and refill it, and then I'll go on the drive. Alright, so I idled the car for about 15 minutes. I went through all the gears multiple times, and I want to drain it once again to see what it looks like. Ooh. Okay, it looks a little bit cleaner. You can actually see that it's somewhat red, so that's a good sign. So I have the fill cap up top of the transmission removed for air. So if you don't remove that cap, or the side fill plug, or the check plug, then it's going to take forever to drain. So you want to make sure you remove one of those two things. And you can actually see that it's red a little bit. So let's do this again and take it on the drive. Alright, so this is drain number 3. I just idled the car once again for about 15 minutes, went through all the gears, and let's see what this oil or transmission fluid looks like now. Okay, look at that. That is what it almost supposed to look like. It's still darker than new, but that's a huge plus. Okay, so I have 6 quarts left, so my plan is to just put the plug on and basically put the 4 quarts in, and then start the car, let it warm up again, go through all the gears, and then take the plug on the side by the axle, which is the oil check plug, take that out, and just put the rest of the 2 quarts in there, and whatever excess is just gonna, you know, pour right out into this bin here. That way I'll get 2 more quarts of dirty oil out of there like that. I think that should work. So let's give that a try. But that's you know, fresh fluid right there. Alright, so the car's been warmed up to operating temperature. The way to check this transmission fluid is you want to have the car running, put it in gear, make sure it's on flat surface. If you lift it, make sure it's leveled, put it in reverse, wait, you know, 5 to 10 seconds, put it in neutral, wait 5 to 10 seconds, put it in drive, wait 5 to 10 seconds. Just make sure the gears are engaging, and then you put it in park and get underneath the car. So underneath the car on the transmission, this is your drain plug here, but right where the axle is, it's a little bit dark, but you can see there's a plug up there. That is your check plug. So you want to remove that, and fluid should be coming out. So you wait until the fluid stops pouring out, and that is your level right there. So let's do that real quick. Try to do it on camera here. There we go. And as you can see, that fluid is fresh. I put a little bit more than I need. I think I put 5 quarts in, and I think it needs about 4.5 or something. So I put a little bit more just to see what the fluid color is like right now, and as you can see, it looks brand new. So the flush was successful. Once I test drive it, I'll be able to tell if it drives better or not, and we'll go from there. Before I go on the test drive, I wanted to replace the air filter as well. There's a part number for that. 2013 Ford Escape 2.0 EcoBoost filter replacement. It's pretty easy, but there are tools required. All you need is a 8mm socket, and you just remove the 4 screws right here all the way around. You want to get an extension because that one near the battery is really hard to get to, but with an extension it makes life easier. And the cap comes off. The filter looks pretty dirty, not bad, but since I already got a new one, I will go ahead and replace it. So you just simply remove the old filter, slides right out, open up the new one. Wow, it's even in plastic. That's fancy. So you just get it out of the bag. That looks good. New parts are the best. And you just slip it on. And that's it. And just reinstall the cap. And there you have it. So just to show a difference in oil from the first time I drained it, and then second, third, and I took a sample fourth time. It looks like these cups are letting the oil through, but this won't take long. So I got a white piece of cardboard here. So the first time I drained it, that's what it looks like. It's very dark. The second time, I'm using a different finger every time. The second time, you can see that it's already a little bit brighter. And I'm using a pinky now. This is the third time. And as you can see, it got cleaner and cleaner. And then the fourth one, I'm gonna use my thumb. This is a sample I just pulled. Basically it was a little bit overfilled, so I took the cap out, and it's not as thick because it's actually clean. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And just to compare, I've got a brand new one here. Let me open this new one up. And so this is a brand new bottle. I'm just gonna drop a few drops. Boom. So that's new compared to the other ones. Huge difference, right? I'm gonna drive this car some more and maybe do another flush. I'll see how it does. I've driven this thing for about 5-10 miles maybe, and I want to report that it hasn't slipped on me yet, and before it would slip right away, even before you leave the parking lot, so that's a very good sign. I'm just gonna run it through a car wash and then get back to the shop and wash the engine and wash the undercarriage and put that shield back on underneath, and it should be all good. So just to review, basically around $100 or a little bit over $100, I replaced the engine oil, engine filter, air filter, and flushed the transmission 3 times. So I think that's pretty good, and especially if it fixed the transmission, because transmissions for these cars are $2,000 for a used one or so, and then like $3,500 for a remanufactured or rebuilt one. So I think it's a good, I think this is a good thing that this car drives and doesn't slip, but I don't know if I should be excited yet. I think it needs to be driven more, but it's already showing good signs, so I'll leave it at that. Hopefully this video helps people out. Check out my Instagram. Sometimes I post things on Instagram that I don't in my videos, so check it out.